Hey everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having a great time. There are two border collies barking. They want to be let outside, but I'm not going to let them because I'm filming the chicken and garden and they are in a bit of a naughty mood today. And naughty dogs don't listen when you're filming and then wander off and then you have to go fetch them. Anyway, I'm starting today's chicken and garden update not with really a chicken or a garden thing. I want to show you this. I now have a hat that says Vectrix on it. I picked it up off of eBay because I figured I needed a hat that says Vectrix now that I own one. If you haven't watched the video on the main channel about it, go watch it now. I am going to be doing a video update, but a couple of things just to make it clear that I'm riding safely. The first thing, the new tyres are on. They were put on last weekend. By a local scooter shop here in Portland. And this weekend, by the time you watch this, hopefully I will have done a couple of things. I will have fixed the gearbox and put some fresh oil in the gearbox. I need to replace this. I know that's the previous owner did that. I don't know why. I need to replace the gearbox oil and sort that out. I also need to bleed these brakes and flush them. And I also need to switch the brake levers over. I discovered this week that this, which should be the front brake on any motorbike, has been switched over by one of the previous owners to operate as a rear brake, and they've switched that one over to operate as a front brake. Now, any biker will tell you that is dangerous because you're used to having this as your front brake here, and that one on that side should be your rear brake, or a clutch if you ride a geared motorbike. We don't have a foot brake on the Vectrix, so that should be the rear brake. I have been riding it as if it was the rear brake, and I discovered this week that someone had switched it around, which is very bad, very dangerous, bad people. Very bad people indeed. Anyway, let's talk about the chickens and gardens. So, weird things have happened in the garden this week. The first one is that the parsnips are doing great. They are continuing to grow, and they are continuing to provide me with lots of lovely vegetables. My potatoes are having a second life. Check this out. There's a whole bunch of potatoes growing here, and you can see how reasonably healthy these leaves are looking. We also have some new lettuces growing up, because why not? And then over here, down here, we actually have, look, we have carrots. Carrots are growing and they are looking incredible, and I cannot wait to have some lovely carrots. So, the first time I've actually successfully grown a large amount of carrots, a reasonable amount of carrots. I'll be growing those. We still have apples on the tree, as I talked about last week. I'm going to be harvesting these soon because they still don't want to come off yet, look. They're still not 100% ready to come off, but lots of apples still remaining for me to enjoy through the end of this month and into November, I think. Some of them have fallen off and have been eaten by people, but for the most part, they're still on the tree, which I think is incredible. All right, so another surprise, and then I'll talk about the topic of today's video, which is the lessons I've learnt this year growing things. The other thing I want to show you, again, which is kind of funny. Look, that is a potato plant. It has started growing. I am just going to leave it and see what happens. This potato plant, obviously all the other potatoes stopped growing. That's the remnants of the potatoes. We have more potatoes. I'm not going to say no to more potatoes because potatoes are lovely. You can boil and mash them and put them in a stew, and I think they're all great ways of having potatoes. You can also have loads of other things as well. You can roast them. Roast potatoes are lovely, especially the older potatoes. Obviously, the new potatoes not so good for roasting, but that's still pretty good. A side note, again, nothing to do with the garden or the chickens, but we're walking past it, so I might as well share you. I had an oopsie while I was heading out to Aptera on Wednesday morning. It was pitch black here, and I managed to back the truck into the wall. That wall right there. And I feel stupid. These things happen. I have insurance. It's going to cost me $500. But I'm glad that I have insurance. Anyway, let's talk about... Oh, look at this. That is a mouse. That is a young mouse. I don't know if you can see it. Right there. That is a young mouse. And that is a chicken who wants a young mouse. Now, I've never seen that before. Not at this time of day. Look at you. Don't go into the chickens, because the chickens will eat you. That's a bad choice. In the words of the knight from was it Raiders of the Lost Ark? He chose poorly. I'm not going to show you what's happening now, but suffice to say the chickens are taking care of my mouse problem. Yes, now being paraded around by one of the chickens. I mean, that unfortunately, that is the circle of life, I guess. Anyway, that's unfortunate. Anyway, in here, all of the tomatoes have gone. And my lesson learned for this year is that I need to use cages for next year. Obviously, I haven't done any pre-prep work for next year other than just taking this out of, taking the plants out. The remaining tomatoes are in the house. They are ripening off. And I learned a lot this year about, having all these tomato plants, namely that I need to have some kind of support structure, better than the ones I had this year, because a lot of my tomatoes ended up not being eaten by me because everything got so bushy that I couldn't see all of the tomatoes as they were growing, and so a lot of them ended up being spoiled. Next year, I'm going to put the tomatoes on this side, where the cucumbers currently are, what remains of the cucumbers, and the cucumbers will go over here. And again, my plan for next year is to start the cucumbers off earlier. I'll be able to do that because this greenhouse is lovely and warm. It's amazing how much heat this thing holds, even at this time of year. So I'll be preparing the soil. I'll be putting some fertilizer in it. Obviously, I'll be weeding it and getting rid of all of this remnants of the tomatoes. And I'll be doing the same on this side with the cucumbers, so that next year I hopefully will be able to grow tomatoes on this side and cucumbers on the other. I still have a few pickling cucumbers that are coming up here and there. I've still got some flowers coming on these ones, which is just absolutely bonkers. And then every now and then, there's a cucumber. That's the only English-style cucumber I've had this year. But next year, I want to try and get some proper British Telegraph cucumber seeds, because those are the ones I really want. I can hear from the noises that are being emitted by the chickens that there's not much of the mouse left. There's not much of the mouse left. I feel kind of bad about that. Anyway, other lessons I've learned. Goodness. I think next year I need to be more careful about where I put things. So this is all onions. Some of the onions are going to be great. Some of the onions, not so much. This one is drying off right here. And so next year I'm going to be more careful about where the onions go, how I put them in, and how I arrange them. When it comes to the corn, I'm going to try doing the Three Sisters planting method. So the beans, the corn, and the squashes all together, and mound them up. I'm still planting everything in a very traditional way at the moment, and I think next year I'd like to try some different things. I know that this plot here didn't do so well this year. Neither did this one. And the interesting thing is both this one, and the closest side in the greenhouse all came from the same batch of compost. The other side was a much nicer compost, and I think maybe it just did better because it was higher quality or something. I also need to cut down these. Ow. That was my own fault. These raspberries, I've still got some fruit coming on the raspberries, which is bonkers at this time of year. But I need to basically rethink how I'm planting things and put more support structures in. This year I kind of rushed to put everything in because you had a very cold winter. Things started really late and I wanted to make sure that everything was, you know, in. That was my big target, making sure that everything was in the ground before things started. But at the same point, I also wanted to make sure that I had a good variety of things. And you know, my apples, I had some successes. So the apples were incredible, and they were incredible because I pruned the trees properly in the winter, or in the spring, sorry. I made sure they remained irrigated, and I also made sure that that when the apples came in, they weren't, the tree was well supported by the watering, and obviously also making sure that any limbs that did produce a lot of fruit were actually well supported and weren't strained too much. The apples were good. The tomatoes were good. As I said, I grew lots of tomatoes. I just weren't able to harvest them. I wasn't able to harvest them all, and that's something I want to work on for next year. Potatoes were great. I'm going to repeat my strategy for potatoes next year. Obviously, you shouldn't plant potatoes you shouldn't plant any crop in the same place year after year after year, unless it's a crop that just stays there all year round and just grows new stuff the next year, like the raspberries. So I'll probably put my parsnips where the potatoes are, and then put maybe the potatoes in that new tub there that I haven't grown anything in this year. So that will be an interesting switch around. I may put carrots or something else over there in those as tubs. I'll see what happens. Because I normally turf things out at the end of the year and redo the soil. I may not do that this time because you're not supposed to do that. That actually disturbs the soil and the macronutrients. So I should probably stop doing that. Anyway, those are the lessons that I've learned from this year. Jobs to do in the garden, there are plenty. As I said at the top of this video, I want to make sure that the Vectrix gets back on the road as soon as possible, partly because I don't want a partially working scooter on my porch, but partly because I really like riding and I want to get it riding, and so I can make another video for the channel. There's a squirrel just running across the road with what looks like an apple in their mouth, and it's not an apple from my garden because they've just crossed over from the other side. Wow, that squirrel's very talented. It's gone now, otherwise I would show it to you. I also have to prune all my roses and all my fruit bushes, but I'm not going to do that yet because as far as I can tell, they're all still growing. Sorry, I had someone trying to go up my nose like a fly or something. There's lots of fruit flies around at this time of year. Which is a bit of a challenge. Lots of fruit flies and little mosquitoes and bitey things. Never a good start. Anyway, that is everything that's going on with the garden. I am going to be away next week. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. for a conference for a couple of days. So Kate, I think, is going to do the Sunday Musing in the Chicken and Garden next week. And then hopefully by the next time I see you, I will have some more cool things to share with you. Like hopefully some more progress in tidying up the garden and getting ready for winter. I haven't touched the grass because the grass is effectively reseeding itself right now and it's looking green again, and I want to keep it that way. So that's everything. Anyway, thanks for joining me. And by the way, don't forget to go and buy the t-shirt that we have in our shop right now. This one, look, the Nevermore t-shirt. It's still in the shop. You can still go and buy it, and if you buy it this week, you should get it in time for Halloween. Thanks for joining me today. If you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can be 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There's a range of different options you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, just under $11 a year. Special shout outs go out to our newest Patreon supporters, Sean Instani, AF Moni, Mel, Stokey Phil, George M. Molesky, Mad Dog Reynolds, Lester Edwards, and Chris Beeson. And if Patreon or YouTube isn't your thing, you'll find links below to support us with a one-off donation through Ko-fi or Bitcoin. And we even have an old-fashioned PO box that you can reach us at, address also below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below too. We've got some great content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed to us on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we think this one is also well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving.